Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome to something that I've gotten a couple of requests to do. This is the bizarre lore of My Singing Monsters by Chapo, or Chupo, however that's pronounced. But yeah, My Singing Monsters. Well, one, I wasn't even aware that My Singing Monsters had lore. And two, from what I've heard, My Singing Monsters has actually been around for a long time. But I only first heard of it maybe two or 3 years ago. Yeah, before then, I had never heard of it before. I think I might have seen it in, the App Store, once or twice, but it looked really weird, so I never installed it. So, to say that I'm going in, blind would be a complete understatement. From what I understand, the only thing you really do in this game is you get monsters and they start, making beats and you make music out of them, which, I can understand being catchy. I don't know what you do after that. Is there any form of progression in the game? Which you'd think there would be if this game's been around for so long. But yeah, I don't have anything else to say, so I'm just gonna head into this then. So yeah, of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day, and yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
My Singing Monsters is a PC and mobile game series, and for the past decade, it has been beloved by millions of players. In that time, though, there's actually been an extensive and shockingly intense timeline with dozens of crucial events. So join me today as we take a look at what this series has been hiding all of this time. Hi everybody, I'm here in my music room. I don't know why I have this room, because to be honest, I don't really have any musical talent. Don't believe me? Watch this. I'm more impressed than I am bothered by that. Hopefully, since today's discussion is about music, hey, maybe I can learn some music thingies and make this music stuff sound less bad. So My Singing Monsters has a few places in the timeline that we could start, but I'm in a bit of a goofy mood, so we're gonna start at the widest scope and get more specific the further we go. Everything in this universe takes place within the Super Duper World Tree, more commonly known as the Bubble Tree or the Stablo Maricha. And that one sounds like a Harry Potter spell.
Yeah, it does kind of, actually, yeah.
This is a multiverse tree that has existed for all of time, and everything talked about today in any regard or any aspect exists somewhere on the tree. Every time a creature travels between worlds here, they adapt to appear not eldritchy in whatever place they go to. And just like a lot of trees and plants, the bubble tree is always expanding. The tree produces sap, which ends up becoming amber. This has no right to be important, but it is. And more universes and highways are being created as time continues by pollinating the flowers in the tree, in part from the help of some monsters like this mythical one called the Bazinga. This has a
Bazinga!
right to be important, but it isn't, like it got revealed about 2 weeks ago. But that's another fun part of this game stuff. There's a lot of it. A very large amount of the storyline is discovered and hidden in between the two biggest games, My Singing Monsters, the big old boy game that any fan knows about, and then Dawn of Fire, which deliberately exists to be a prequel of the main game with an emphasis on fire, because there's a lot of fire. It just burns lots and lots of hot stuff. If you're a firefighter, hell, an arsonist, this video's for you guys.
That sounds kind of concerning, given that the fact that this, game takes place in a universe held together by a tree.
A majority of this content takes place in the main world we'll be looking at today, known as the Monster World / Universe / Dimension thing, and our first period in our timeline is the Primordial Cosmic Hush, aka before the Big Bang, with an emphasis of no sound being produced because there was nothing. No Big Bang means there's not even color, it's empty for a good while without a big old bang, then there is one. Cool.
And then there's all the noise, okay.
It also creates the 12 Celestials that are, as far as I'm concerned, basically like the gods or the Greek mythology, like the ones in Disney's Hercules, as they're beings that would further establish the world, like adding a thing called the Life Core, and soon began to travel across the land and eventually hang out with the stars. Over time, the Big Bang clang would eventually come to a stop, only to be replaced by the Colossals and their voices, and these guys are where the monsters are gonna start singing, but not yet. Rest your raspberries. It'll
the Colossals? Where did they come from?
Names that up until recently you could not say with your human tongue, like that's real, you would die if you try to pronounce them. They go, damn, this world kind of sucks, let's make it not do that. So they taught the Celestials how to sing, built the Starhenge, and created the first My Singing Monsters that can sing. Even though the Celestials came first, the Colossals are probably more powerful. Soon they all dipped into a pocket dimension of the monster world and pulled a Minecraft creative mode, just seeing what kind of shit they can make, eventually making some monsters on accident, and then they went back to their prime reality using using this element that they made called crystallium as their base resource. Then they make and sing a great song, a song so great that it can make stuff do just that. They make grassland, iceland, airland, and maybe even fireland. That happens to be right next to the Monster World core since it's the most important and most powerful. Slowly but surely, this early period would see the establishment of common monsters, the shoo-a-doo-a-doos, the ba-bums, the la-la-la-la-la-la, the whole crew. Well, maybe not quite. I think I can't guarantee any monster just yet. See, like a lot of things that exist, My Singing Monsters has one important prequel, and now I'm gonna very possibly be wrong about some of the stuff that takes place in this game that takes place hundreds of years before the main one. Really, the most important things to add here is that the fire element has struggled far more in contrast to the other monsters and other elements that they possess, but it won't matter until it does. We also learned that at the current point, the world is connected via a single continent among the outer islands, which are very special islands for very special monsters. Also, a lot of keywords or memorable locations start showing up at this point, like the living ocean.
Okay, so I've been more or less silent just because I'm trying really hard to wrap my... Here I thought, granted, I mean, this might be just me having been, exposed to, years of game theory and, lots of, Deltarune lore and Undertale lore and various other game lore. I was not expecting this to be so just haphazard and random, but thinking about it, I probably should have. This is like a mobile game where the main gameplay is making music with monsters. I shouldn't have expected super serious lore, because right now all of this is just, granted, it's also just the way that Chupo is talking, but it's constantly just slapping me in the face. And I know, of course, actually thinking about it for more than a couple of seconds, I mean, of course, such a world, such a bizarre and nonsensical world would have such bizarre and nonsensical lore. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, granted, I mean, again, I'm getting myself worked up over literally nothing. This so far, I've never played My Singing Monsters before. I have no opinion on the game whatsoever. So actually thinking about it, I probably should do that at some point. Who knows?
It's an ocean that may or may not be living. The Golden Age. Not too much to go over, just the monsters are like, dang, this bops, this rocks, we love it here. As they
Is that slime have toes? What was that?
Across the available realities and find their forever homes, and technology booms, making all the stuff we see in the modern game. There's a trade system, teleporters, love machines. Basically, this is the Fertile Crescent of the funny, clicky-clacky penguins. The prism gates start to appear as well.
Okay.
Just give the monsters new resources and a bunch of small extra stuff, and they can change how they look, and that's pretty cool. Until it wasn't, because then in the Cataclysm, Colossals begin to realize, oh geez, the apocalypse is gonna happen soon, that bites. But then a couple of them are like, oh, you guys are idiots, have fun being idiots, you idiots. Soon all the Colossals get into such a ruckus they forget how to be friends and cause super earthquakes across the monster continent, which really just screwed over the fire monsters specifically, mostly just going extinct with a few exceptions. A few of the survivors were trapped in the amber, which is the bubble tree sap, but it's okay, they decided they would sacrifice themselves if needed, and some of them would by proxy turn into statues, which would reset their life cycles.
Yeah, why specifically is fire having such a hard time? I'm starting to feel really sorry for them. Usually, but that's kind of funny, because usually when it comes to, fire or, the red faction in any games, usually, they're the evil ones when it comes to, stuff like this. But no, they're, the downtrodden ones that are, just struggling to survive. I mean, it's pulling at the heartstrings.
By the way, I don't think I mentioned this. A lot of monsters can just turn into statues, and if you do that, you don't die, but your life resets. It's like a reincarnation thing. It doesn't make sense to me, so
okay,
I'm not gonna try explaining, sorry. Fortunately, one of those Celestials, the electric one named Galvana, who's also the most powerful and important because they're electric, and electric is the strongest element in this universe, decided to be a chum and made some emergency generators that would become monsters known as the Wuboks on each island. And then the Celestials also turn into stone, and then get reincarnated later, but only sort of, kind of, really, not really. But hold on, fellas, there's some goofy stuff that happens here too. Because of the continent being split up, the planet becomes a donut. Yes, this is real. This was just revealed in the 11th year anniversary, but apparently it was foreshadowed in the original Island Select. The thought of a planet being a donut makes my little chipmunk brain overheat, so I'm just...
The world is a donut. Because the original level select screen was a disc that you spun to go through. You know, I very much question, like, what are the writer, because obviously there you have like the people who make like the assets, the people who program, and the sound designers for this game, but I very much want to see what's going on in the writer's room. How many people are there, and how much crack have they been smoking? Because quite honestly, the whole donut thing, I don't know whether that's nuts or brilliant. It's quite honestly, it could go either way.
Gonna move along. Just think for future reference. This guy right here, this one where you're looking at with your eyeballs, this lives on a donut. Following this would be the Great Pause, which, I'm not kidding, lasted so long that humans straight up cannot comprehend how long of a pause this was. Nothing really happened other than fire as an element was entirely forgotten, the sleeping Colossals would create mythical things in their sleep, and any outer island fell into some prison gates. But not Party Island. Party Island is still chilling in the living ocean. The 20th century, like our 20th century on Earth. On another side of the multiverse tree, during the Great Depression, a guy named Dr. Warden E. Spurt somehow manages to reach the monster world, and notes the 5 natural islands.
Oh right, I forgot that this took place in the multiverse. Oh god. So you just had like a normal human come to this world. Oh god, okay.
On another side of the multiverse tree, during the Great Depression, a guy named Dr. Warden E. Spurt somehow manages to reach the monster world, and notes the 5 natural islands.
Not actually the doctor.
Of this discovery are absolutely insane. Monsters begin to visit the human world as exchange students. One mammoth permanently turns into this guy named Bill, and then
this guy named Bill.
Big Blue Bubble approached Dr. Spurt and made a game called My Singing Monsters. That's right, I've been going off the game that's supposed to be based off of our fictional, non-fictional discoveries of the monster world. All content found in the game is based off of a fictional or non-fictional source material based on how you want to look at it. Either this is based on a true story, or everything is canon. This is technically a paradox. I feel like no matter how you look at it, my brain veins are hurting at the thought of it.
I mean, that makes 2 of us. Okay. So now, okay, so we're hitting FNAF territory now, where you have the game being a representation. It was made, like, the games were made in universe that they depict. You know, I'm speaking of FNAF, maybe the reason I'm being so, like, absolutely floored by this is the fact that I'm having it all thrust in my face at once. Like, I know FNAF lore is just as weird, but the thing is, I've been it's been almost like, you know, the frog in the pot of boiling water. I've been in this pot for so long, and it's been turned up so high at this point, but I have not noticed it at all. It's been just a very slow and gradual process. I'm being thrown straight into a fireplace. So, yeah, of course I'm being confused by all this. But I mean, so, again, like, what crack were the writers smoking? Because now they're including themselves into their own universe.
But I'm not doing this. On one hand, this means that the discussion could technically be classified as a history lesson in-universe, yet that also means that the developers could retcon anything in-game and chart it as a discovery that was incorrect beforehand. It's more or less optional if you want to consider yourself canon to the universe. I'm going to. Just be warned that if you do, you have to recognize that you're a dimension hop away from being next to the contemporary era, when the game released back in 2012. Lots of stuff happens here. After all that crazy business and splitting of the main continent, we have 5 major natural islands and elements, those being plant, cold, air, water, and earth. There's also the Gold Island, but that's only for monsters who have become cool and mature enough to be the best monsters. Seasonal monsters are also discovered. These guys only show up at certain times of the year, though. Because of the fear of the environment, the islands begin to use diamonds as the main source of power. The wall boxes on respective islands are also revived and released. Overall, just a ton of monsters come back at once. Some of these include the ethereal monsters, like the ones at Sugarbush Island. We get introduced to the Sugarbush monsters. These goobers are a consequence of humanity interacting with the monster world. The concept of an entire subspecies of Ed Sheeran gives me the same negative impact as seasonal depression. The Big Blue Bubblers wanted to see if they could do it rather than if they should. Also, the Wordos, I think that's how you pronounce it. These monsters sing, and I don't really like them. They're named after the developers of the game, which, yeah, I guess that makes sense if they were discovered mid-development, but, you know, I don't care. I really don't. I don't care. I don't. I do not care. I do not care. Anyway, going back to the normal talk, all monsters across this multiverse
What part of any of this was normal?
come together and sing. What are they gonna do? It's not called My Rock Climbing Monsters. Of course they sing, but that's a good thing because they're free of fire monster that survived the dawn of fire apocalypse being trapped in amber. Once they're freed, they talk about their old life, which isn't fully remembered, but starts the monsters wanting to discover the ruins of their past. Meanwhile, the Woboks and other monsters have been hopping between the human world, creating a rare Woboks from the stuff from the 80s, but it's lonely and wants to create pals, so it makes the Wubblins. And the Wubblins are super pals of the Woboks, so it moves away to a pocket dimension to hang out with them. Right after that,
I swear that the words pocket dimension have been said so many times. So, like, the gods of this universe, they turned into statues, and, like, I've said it before, I just can't. This whole thing, it's hurting my brain.
surprise, the Celestials are back. This does not matter, but they're back and
Yeah.
celestially as ever. Then right after, the fire monster they freed, I think its name is Kaya, leads the monsters into a volcano where they discover the Fire Haven. Well, jolly jumping jelly beans, that's just swell. Here, there's been a ton of fire monsters chilling in the refuge since the dawn of fire, and they want to make an island using fire and whatever. They make the Fire Oasis Island out of brown glass in like a week, thanks to the power of friendship. Hey, remember the Colossals? Well, now there's Colossals too. The Titans are here. The only major difference is that they aren't as magic, and they're just big old dudes, so never mind, they're probably worse. And again, looking at the fire monsters, they have now found the fire frontier and discovered the psychic element, so that's great.
There's
here, a bunch
another
of islands
element!
are discovered, a lot of them being implied to be connected, if not the same islands, as the ones found in Dawn of Fire. Bone Island, Magic Island, some third one. It's time for
Why was
a
there one
housing
made out of
crisis.
brains?
A bunch of ideas are presented for fixing this housing crisis. Crystals seem to be the top choice, but a totally unrelated event happens somewhere in the ocean where a coliseum rises up and the monsters can fight. If fighting meant singing each other to sleep, that's neat. Magic time, baby. It's the magical era. Lots of magical gunk happens for a while. Of the magical islands, there's the Light Island and new elements found. One of the Titans here moves wherever it wants, just like Party Island, which might still be chilling in the living ocean. Wow, Lee, that
Which
sure
might
is a
still be,
whole lot of
okay.
info about one part of the world. But fellas, there's a whole multiversal tree and a good amount of spin-offs to take a gander at. So let's
How many
go
spin-offs?
ahead
I
and
thought
do
there
that
was
or
just the
whatever.
one.
In
What?
terms of time points, we have no time points, so I'm just gonna throw them in an order that feels right. First off, the Thumpyverse. This is technically a prequel, a spin-off, and the first installment, just all at the same time, so I think that's fun. These guys are your
Thumpyverse?
typical monsters in a rhythm juggling game, and I'm gonna be frank, this game is very scary, and I have to finally bring it up, but wow, this franchise is ugly. This would legitimately
No, yeah,
scare
it
me if
is
I was younger.
legitimately, like,
right now,
creepy
I
looking.
recommend washing your hands after looking at these fuzzy kickballs. There's also one game called Fling a Thing that takes place in the world of Thingia. Still kind of ugly, but you know.
You know what's funny? This thing on, like, the app icon, it looks almost identical to, like, the weird bug thing that infects the main character in Kaiju number 8, if you've seen that anime. It looks almost exactly the same, except this one's fuzzy and the other one was not. And I don't know what to do with this information.
The Bubble Tree loves all, and I feel like the Fling a Thing community hasn't gotten enough love, so you know what? This is for the firefighters, arsonists, and the Fling a Thingers. Love you guys. You guys are doing great. My Mammoth and My Pom Pom are Talking Tom type games, and once again, I feel like I need an exorcist. Like a majority of these games are 2D for a reason. I understand the art style, but it feels like the colors and the emphasis on the gross eyes and mouth, you know, it just
No,
it
yeah,
feels off
definitely.
if you're catching my
Kill it with fire.
Popcorn Jelly Dream and Jammer Splash. Both of these games are puzzle games where you do puzzles. It's as easy to understand as the My Singing Monsters coloring book. Coloring? The PS Vita version of the original game has stopped being updated, meaning that this is considered, in fact, another universe entirely. Basically the bad ending to this world because, I don't know, the monsters got sad and decided not to keep updating.
Wait, so they were still updating a PS Vita version of the game? Like, for how long? When did the PS Vita version stop being updated? 2019? when was the PS Vita, like, officially dropped? Because I could have sworn it was a lot earlier than 2019. 2019, really? Okay, that it had a much longer... Wait, so how long was the lifespan? 2011 to 2019. Really? I thought the PS Vita was abandoned a lot earlier than that. Wow.
My Singing Monsters composer is an interesting one. The original game has a composer island, which I would say is one of, if not the most important aspect of the original game at a game perspective. Allowing players to create songs using whatever monsters and sounds accessible. I think this is the best feature of it. This game is meant to mainly be an extension of that. Like, most of the monsters are here from the get-go and you don't need to grind. It's really a convenience tool more than anything, but it's still pretty dang neato. And I like seeing the people who are good at music stuff being good at music stuff. There's as much charm as there is cool points. Truly the crown of this semi-niche PC and mobile game franchise, available on iOS and Android and Steam and many additional platforms via the given spin-offs. And last of the spin-offs, there's My Singing Monsters Playground. This is more or less a mini-game collection that feels like it would be around during the Wii shovelware era. It looks better than the previous 3D games, that's for sure. I think it's pleasant for what it is. But you have 7 playable characters, that's pretty lame. I mean, they got costumes and whatever, but like, come on. Hell, remove someone. Even 6 feels better than 7. That's... bleh. Despicable. No thank you. Now, besides all these games, BBB have made some non-My Singing Monsters games, as indicated, with the character designs that don't make my eyes frown. But, yep, these are all canon.
Yeah.
Thank you, Big Tree. It all matters
Never
to some
heard
extent.
of any of
The only
these.
2 games I want to call by name are Foregone, which is like a really cool-looking 2D platformer. I haven't played this. The fact this and this correlate in the slightest is kind of funny, actually.
Okay,
and Super
what?
Dinosaur. The name says it all. The dinosaur is friggin' super. Once again, all canon, all important to a weird tiny grain of an extent. This is a very special case where everything discussed
Super
matters by
Dinosaur?
technicality, so, yeah. So where are we now? We still got a lot of questions.
Yeah, how-
And while I'm losing my
Still
mind over
more
the
of the
funny
video.
cartoon musical monsters that are somehow scarier than the ones in the live-action Where the Wild Things Are movie, like, this alone scares me more than the reoccurring dream I had in 2008 where I believe Scrat from Ice Age lived in my house and would scream at me in the face, but nobody believed me. This is a repeated nightmare I had. This is what made me want to own a dog. My Singing Monsters is far from complete in any aspect. There's seasonal events, the team is providing new lore incredibly often, so much in fact that this felt like learning about the world of a made-up country. It was a master of deception. I thought this was going to be easy to handle, but no! It tricked me. Like, that's not a baby. That's the population of Rome. This isn't a game. This is a college major if you want.
That's not a baby. Okay, that's one way of describing that. Again, like, this whole thing. I mean, granted, and I said it before. As I said before, like, it makes total sense that a game that is so weird and nonsensical would have such weird and nonsensical lore. But, like, this was not the best way for me to learn about this, because I'm being hit with this, like, all at once, when this is, like, something that should be split up into, like, several dedicated videos for each part. It's like, I'm being overwhelmed by all of this.
Want to learn everything. At this moment, there's over 360 unique monsters that make me want to 360 into a coffin, because the mere thought of becoming a walking, talking Pokédex of the singing monsters realistically would make a lot of people want to do that. It feels like I'm holding in a lot of powerful emotions about this specific topic, but that's okay, because you know what? I've served my time in this game. I've been a fan of it for a good while. Like, I got Wubblins on my account. I got Wubblins.
Okay.
Sure do. And as a game, I think this is a cool concept, and it works. Though, to be fair, especially recently, there is some ways the story can go. The Colossals are starting to wake up and we're giving them actual names. New stuff is consistently being added, and Big Blue Bubble is still Big Blue Bubbling. They have a few monsters hired in their company and working for them. The developers and or monster handlers seem to be hopping between the worlds so we can learn more about the Multiversal Tree. It seems like the monsters become 3D when they come to our own universe, and I know I joked about this earlier, but if I see one of these guys come up to me,
I'm shooting it, yeah.
Okay, we're fighting. To the death, even. I will not tolerate a furcorn entering my comfort zone. And really, all there is to do now is
that what they're called?
Like, this is history. History becomes history when we wait after a while and something crazy happens, which, when it comes to conflict, there is no conflict. In fact, the majority of these events are about the monsters discovering or rediscovering things. There's never been, like, an evil monster dictator or a My Singing Monsters World War.
I mean, thankfully.
Well, not yet, at least.
Oh,
so
God,
that's
yeah.
about all. I'm sure not everything important has been uncovered, but ideally, if any fan wants to use this rambling as a start point for further discussion, or want to bully the hell out of me because I fibbed up somewhere along this timeline and goofed up, highly encourage you to do so, and do that. The games are cool, this series is probably good in monster handler hands. They made research as easy as it was long and painful, and I'll only go to therapy when I find a way to make it a tax write-off. I found a 50-page document that cites most, if not all, of My Singing Monsters history. That's where I found a lot of this info, and it was connected to this video specifically. So never mind if anything is wrong, that's not my fault, I'm not accountable for it. This video, I was kidding, it would be my fault if anything in this video is wrong. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Joking again. No, I wasn't. But that's whatever. I got a lovely tune for YOU.
This is Damage the Man. I'm so sorry for you.
Here's an statistic.
I mean, I said I didn't know what to expect going into this video. But man, I didn't know what I was getting into with this video. I mean, the whole fact you have this, like, this game where, like, the universe consists of, you know, donut-shaped planets being connected by, like, interdimensional trees, and, like, fire not being, you know, an inherently evil element. I mean, out of all that, that's actually one of the weirder parts about all this. Again, I don't know if I'm going to play My Singing Monsters, not My Little Monsters. Maybe I might just as a one-off, just to see what it's like. But yeah, I guess for now, I'm just going to call it there. So yeah, of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day, and yeah, I guess I'll love that out of the way. I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye!